you guys see where this is going? We're debt free. Then we started with a budget for a piece of property that was lower, but we decided to go higher. Do you see the excuses that are starting to be built in?
So my husband and I, we moved up. We're actually in the North Idaho area, so we're just kind of over the border from Spokane.
Okay.
We moved here really unexpectedly last year after my husband lost his job, and it just ended up being such a blessing. He got a job up here, and we absolutely love it. And we don't want to leave. We're closer to family now, and he got a good job here. He's been able to start a business, so he's actually working 2 jobs. In the midst of COVID and babies and this move and everything, we still
Because remember, this video is 2 years ago.
managed to pay off our debt, so we own our vehicles, all that. And we're in a rental, but we've decided that we want to go ahead and buy, even though this market is really crazy and it's really expensive here.
Mm-hmm.
But we figured since we're debt-free, we can go ahead and pull the trigger and do it. So we're in the middle of purchasing a place that we found.
Now, my question immediately becomes, okay, you can pull a trigger, but did you aim, or are you just shooting wildly? In other words, did you aim at a very specific budget that you knew would work for you? Something has gone wrong here for them to call in. So I'm just kind of trying to predict, okay? You can become debt-free, but if it's, well, I'm debt-free now, I'm just going to go out and conquer the world, but you got no goal, you have no budget, might be a problem.
So you already have a contract out?
Yes, we do. We close here in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is expensive, and we know that, we had started with a budget that was a bit lower, and we decided to go higher because we found this great property, and it just seemed.
Do you guys see where this is going? We're debt free. Then we started with a budget for a piece of property that was lower, but we decided to go higher. Do you see the excuses that are starting to be built in? She's prepped this. I think I know where this is going. I bet they bought too much house. Okay, save up for a house or get a mortgage. But do you notice when we look in hindsight at the earlier part of the call, the justifications were already in there. We love this place. It's closer to family. Okay, I'm a single mom now. I have 2 kids at home, which is more justification, I'm sure, for, well, we need a bigger place. Something that I notice in many of these calls, if you really pay attention, the excuses are immediately said at the get-go of the call. The excuses start getting lined up. And in this case, an excuse is even that they're debt-free. That's an excuse too. Well, my condo's debt-free. I could sell this place for $200,000, and I'm positive if I wanted to, I could go buy me a place that's $300,000. But would that be responsible? Would it be fiscally responsible? So when you look in hindsight, now we don't quite know where this call is going yet because I'm hearing it for the first time with you. But if you think about in hindsight, how many people have a series of excuses all lined up so that they can go make a purchase that they really want to make, even though that purchase may not be sound. It may not be wise. It's just something to observe.
It's like a wonderful place to raise children. And
what did I just tell you? See, the kids are an excuse too. We're going to need all these accommodations. Let me back that up. I'm going to back that up just a hair.
Know that, we had started with a budget that was a bit lower, and we decided to go higher because we found this great property, and it just seems like a wonderful place to raise children. And so,
in other words, they're going to go ahead and disregard the budget that they originally had because because they've lined up enough excuses now as to why they should go over that budget.
We're dedicated to staying in the area. We wanted to.
There's another excuse. If I could rewind this tape from the beginning, and I'm not going to, how many excuses have we come up with? Let's count them. Okay, first we got the excuse we're living near family. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. We've got 2 kids. This is a beautiful place. My husband, I think, did she say he was unemployed, laid off? I can't remember. Okay, I remember I'm on sinus medications because with my allergies and stuff, so my head's a little foggy. But from what I can gather, I think we've got 5 excuses so far. Okay, something along that line. And we've got these 5 excuses to now be reasons as to why they should break their budget. This is not good.
Do it. So
you've laid the groundwork to justify not making a smart decision.
Yay! Yay! Snaps! Snaps! Oh, you know what? People, every now and then. I mean, I know, you know, for those who are new, when I do the snaps, it means what I have said has been either repeated in whole, in part, or in paraphrase by the Ramsey show. And let me tell you, people, that was one of the best ever. That was perfect. So for those of you who are fortunate to have a fire, put an extra log in that fire and just watch it sparkle and light up. Yeah, it tells me that I am leading my people down the right road. That my analysis and my thoughts are at least somewhat, if not greatly in this case, aligned with the Ramsey show. You see, she started with, oh, we're debt free, and everybody's going, oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's just so great. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. It says here you're knee deep in this, which means the shitay has already hit the fan A. All right, because they've already made up their mind. And what she was really doing, this was almost like a bait and switch. This is a bait and switch, calling in to say you all debt free and you're so responsible, like you're ready to do your debt free scream. And really all you've done is line up a whole bunch of excuses as to why you should go over budget. Yeah. That was snaps for me, people. Snaps for me.
That would happen?
Am I questioning the decision?
Heck yeah, she is. That was a long pause. That was not me being slow on the trigger.
Yeah, you've laid the groundwork to have possibly made a not great financial decision.
It sounds like there's a lot of emotion behind this, of just excitement about getting in a house and all this. So give us some.
It was the excitement of being debt free and going, oh my gosh, we don't owe anybody. So instead of, maintaining debt freedom and becoming even more debt free by building up a savings account, they went, hey, let's just go ahead and start spending. Now, if you've watched this channel, this place cost me $100,000. It now sells for around $200,000, 840 square feet. And I was firm on the price that I was willing to pay. I said $125,000. That's why I told my realtor, don't even show it to me if it's $130,000. She never did. She stayed right within $125,000. That's why I got 840 square feet.
Details about the financial aspect.
Yeah. So when we first started looking, so we've been looking for months and months with our realtor, and we didn't have a super firm.
I bet your realtor loves you. Someone who has no limit. The sky is the limit. You will change your mind. You're easily convinced, coerced, like they said, emotionally.
Budget in mind, but we decided around the 450 mark we didn't want to go much over that. We felt we could really afford that and still be able to save money. But in this market and in this,
now remember, this is 2 years ago, $450,000 house
area where we live, what you can get for 450 just doesn't even seem worth it. These aren't even really starter homes. They're not even.
That's right. This is when housing was becoming ridiculously priced in certain cities. So, like I said, I bought mine in 2020 for $100,000. This now sells for around $200,000, which, by the way, is over the tax estimated value. And my tax assessment last year was $175,000. But yet, if you want to buy a unit, you're most likely going to have to pay over. It's just the way it is. But this was at the time, because this is 2 years ago. It's not gotten much better.
Really fixer-uppers. And we just found that nothing in that price range we were willing to go for. So we decided that we wanted.
Let's all guess what they decided to do. Okay, people, let's take out those bets. What do you think they did? You in the back row, way in the back, holding the popcorn. What's your bet? Yeah. They said, you know what? None of this is good enough for us. So we're going to completely the budget and we're going to get something even more expensive. Right? Instead of saying, this is our budget and this is what we can afford, and dealing with the realities of what they could afford. The reality is, this is what we can afford. The dream is, this is what we'd like to afford. The reality was, if I wanted to get out of debt quickly, which actually became my goal when I bought this condo, before I purchased this condo, my goal was to get something that I could pay off in just a few years. I was actually planning on taking 7 years to pay off the $45,000 mortgage. That's what I was planning on taking, was 7 years. And then I went, oh hell, I bet I could book it even faster. And I did it in 2.5 to 3 years. So they've got all the excuses. They're saying none of these houses are good enough, but that most likely was what they could afford. But it's hard to admit that.
To not only do a house, but get some property since we've got little kids.
Okay, so now they don't just want a house, they want more, they want property to go with it.
So we ended up finding something, but it's about $100,000 more.
Do you think they bought it? $100,000 more than what they had budgeted. I'm willing to bet they bought it. They've either bought it or are so seriously thinking of bought it. But it says you're knee deep in this. I don't know if we can help. That would be like me saying, you know what? I want $125,000. That's all I wanted. And then I look at this unit that I'm in, which did have a major face. It had a $15,000 remodel, and $15,000 to 840 square feet is walls, floors, paint, all the trim. So it's a lot, but you're talking 840 square feet. That'd be like me going, for 100 all I can get is 840 square feet. Well, this is a starter place. Well, I can't have that. Let's go ahead and break it. You know what? Take me up to 225,000. Trust me, I could have had something a whole lot nicer for 225,000.
So 550.
Than we initially started. Yeah, so now we're in the 550 range.
And how much are you
I'm just gonna hold my fan.
guys putting as the down payment? What percent?
Well, we aren't, because we're both veterans, so we're going through a VA loan, so we aren't actually putting anything down.
Ooh.
If you are going to own a $500,000 home with, extra property and all that, and you can't put anything down on it, how are you going to maintain the home? I mean, I understand being veterans and, not putting money down. I get it. But it seems like a $500,000 home might be too much house for you to maintain. I could see a veteran, putting zero down on my place. Okay, 125, 200. I might even stretch and go 300. You're talking more than $500,000, zero down. How are you going to maintain it? This is just my thought.
Ooh. Okay. What's your take on?
Yeah.
It's all laugh and giggles until you realize you've just kind of screwed yourself over. I don't laugh when it comes to debt that I'm dealing with in my own life. And I think anyone who's ever watched me on this channel, I don't think I've ever laughed. Laughter means you aren't in control. Because when you're in control of your money, there's nothing to laugh about. And I genuinely believe that. There's nothing funny about it. When people start doing that chuckle, that laughter, that's them trying to breathe through a situation that they know they've just messed up.
Yeah, so we are going to finance the whole thing. Which
I'll continue on.
puts us at about a $2,500 a month mortgage.
on a 30-year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suzanne.
Remember, she doesn't work. She doesn't work. I don't know how secure her job is. Don't know how much it's going to cost to place the roof, to repair the roof when it comes time to replace the roof. All I know is they're moving into a $500,000 home, zero down, And they are not just minimally over budget, they're maximally over budget. $100,000 over what you had originally planned for is an absurd amount of money to be over budget on.
And all right, what's your question? You're getting us all fired up.
I'm
here.
getting riled up, Suzanne. Yes. How can we
I
help?
know. Well, that's what I was.
I don't know if we can help. You're knee deep in this thing. If I'm you, I'm getting out of this thing if there's still time.
But you've already signed a contract. So what's your question?
They already signed the contract.
Well, my question is, should we focus on saving money? Because, we're in this, we're going to be paying this mortgage. Should we be saving money and focusing on that? Or should we focus the extra money that we have every month towards this mortgage and get it down?
You should have focused it before you ever got this contract and had a...
Thank you. Yeah. And if your husband loses his job, right? If you miss a house payment, you now owe $5,000 with one missed mortgage. Which, if you're going to have a mortgage like that, I would want 2 working people. I feel sorry for the husband. Why do I think he kind of got suckered into this? Why do I think the wife said something like, "Oh, but honey, we need this. Look we can put a swing set here, yada, yada, yada." I'm being facetious. I don't know. He could be just as much of a spendthrift as she is. All I know is this is financial irresponsibility on full display. $100,000 over. It would be different if their income clearly could afford it. There's a reason they budgeted $450 initially. There's a reason. Because when they sat down and they looked at their budget, they said, okay, this is about the amount of house we can afford. But when they got the budget established and they looked at what the market was, they said, well, none of this is good enough for me. The minute you say that something isn't good enough for you, it's not fancy enough for you, it doesn't meet the lifestyle standards you feel you are entitled to, that's the minute you lose control of your budget. That is the minute you lose control. I could have easily looked at this and gone, please, 840 square feet? Me in 840 square feet? Oh, come on. The fact that I have a monthly savings account of $1,400 that goes into my retirement tells you how much I underbought. Once all my debt got cleared and everything was paid off, I saved 30%. I saved approximately $1,400 every month goes into my retirement account. And I'm very excited about it because I just started that in September of 2023. So just not that long ago. But the fact that I paid this off in less than 3 years tells you how far under budget I went. I went ridiculously under budget. I have a friend, I should say more of an acquaintance, and I may have discussed it before on this channel. She never watches this channel. And I tried to convince her to buy a unit in the same condo association that I'm in, because I'm in a very good association. It's reasonably priced. We meet all the Florida laws, yada, yada. And she turned it down. And she said my condo complex literally wasn't fancy enough for her. Just like this lady in this call. Different size dollars we're dealing with, but the same mental thought process through both of them. And that is, they looked at their budget, they looked at what they could afford, and both of them said, no thanks. So this acquaintance of mine, she absolutely said my complex was not for her. And my complex is basic. There ain't no frills. And I like it that way because we don't have to pay for an associations. I don't want to pay for freaking valets. I don't want to pay for 2 pools, cabanas, fancy dog runs, an on-site post office. Forget it. I don't want to pay for any of that stuff. It's not where I want my dollars to go. At least, on my budget. And so I tried to tell her, I really think you should buy a unit here. And this was at the same time, because this was 2 years ago, and I've been in my place since 2020, so I'm entering my 4th year. 2020, 21, 22, 23. Oh, hell, I'm entering my 5th year. All of 20, I'm bad at math. All of 20, all of 21, all of 22, all of 23. Holy cow. Okay, so I guess I'm in my, just starting my 5th year here almost. Okay. Wow, how time flies. Okay. But when I moved in 2020, the unit that I told her to look at was $65,000, 540 square feet for a single woman and her dog. Okay. 540 square feet, probably needed $10,000 of fixer-upper, and that was mainly in the kitchen. Everything else was totally fine. Walls were together. It didn't need the $15,000 facelift my place needed. Trust me, my place needed the facelift. So I gave it that. She absolutely turned it down and said no. And today she pays approximately $1,700 a month rent for a place that is exactly the same square footage as mine, 840 square feet. She's paying $1,700 a month in rent, and I believe she's using her retirement money to help sustain her because she turned it down. And the unit that I told her to buy, which was $65,000, now goes for $165,000, and it's been going for that for about almost 2 years now. She's completely priced out. This is what happens when we set a budget and we look at a place and we go, ooh, pewy, stinky. We don't like that. That's not good enough for us. So we turn it down, and we either now get stuck in the rent cycle that my acquaintance is in, or we're going to be like this idiot couple and we're going to go $100,000 over budget, because who the hell are we trying to impress? Right? It wasn't that she could have, that this couple could have bought those places. Those are starter places. Well, guess what, lady? At the time you bought it, the time the market was at, the time the rent prices was at, yeah, that's considered a starter place. My place is considered a starter place. It's going to cost you at least $175,000 to $200,000 to move in. My place is considered a starter place. Okay? On today's budget, on what the market is today. When I bought it in 2020, I think it was still kind of a starter place, but there were places that were even lower than that. They were around 60. So I was like maybe one step above starter. Maybe. I think it's still close to a starter place as far as I was concerned. But these are the consequences. This was a disastrous mistake. And this mistake was made out of ego. I hate to say the word emotion because I feel like emotion is giving it too much credit. It's giving it too much sympathy. No, this was about her ego, and probably the ego of her spouse. Okay. They jointly decided to do this. They jointly decided that she's going to be a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids, yada, yada. Okay. So this was a joint decision, but the decision was made based on ego, that this wasn't good enough for them. And that's an attitude that I can't stand. I can't move into this place. It's $450,000. It's just too disgusting for me. But if that was your budget and that's what you could afford, then you take that house and you turn it into a home.
A healthy down payment on a 15-year, that's what I would feel better about. I don't love this idea of you guys getting out of debt and then taking on over $500,000 on a mortgage and thinking that
at $2,500 a month.
They're doing you a favor by giving you the VA loan. And is that not a big part of your take-home pay?
What is your take-home pay?
It is. Right now, well, we've got several different sources of income.
Just lay it out, lady. You don't need to give us all the details.
The total. Here's what's happened, Suzanne. You
let her answer the question, John. I really want to know what is it, because these people have got it thoroughly set in their mind. They have justified this. They have sat and prayed on how to justify it.
have created a universe that you want to have. You want to be in this area. You want your kids in this area. Well, our kids need to go ahead and have this too. So you created that as well.
And here's the interesting part. The kids don't care. I was raised, I think, in probably 1,500 square foot house. About there, okay? In Eugene, Oregon. You know what? As a kid, it wouldn't have mattered if that house was 1,500 square feet or 6,000 square feet. It wouldn't have mattered. I just wanted to know that kids just want to come home. Okay? Kids don't care. They don't care. I didn't ever go home and go, oh my goodness, my house is so much smaller than the neighbor's house. We just didn't care. Although I have to admit, we loved neighbors that had a house with a loft. That was always fun because we could look over and stare down at the level below. But that's because it had a loft, not because we looked at it and went, oh, well, gee, their house has a loft and our house doesn't. Kids don't think like that unless you train them that somehow or another you're better because you have a bigger house.
And you've
Right.
created a really fungible, flexible dollar amount. We just got a lot of money coming from this place and that place and this place. And here's what you've done. You've created a cloud that allows you to, A, not see very clearly and not have to see very clearly, which allows you to live in a fantasy. And now you've zeroed down in one of the, if not the hottest real estate markets of all time.
Thank you.
So it takes a teeny tiny correction, and you are underwater in a $500,000 house.
It's going to take her husband losing a job. And how many calls have we heard where we have stay-at-home moms, and stay-at-home moms, right? And they don't seem to want to go back to work when the times get tough. And you want to tell me in 30 years there isn't going to be a tough time?
Working side
Right.
jobs that are, we kind of make this, and suddenly this zeroed down VA loan is a nightmare because you're underwater.
The VA loan in and of itself isn't what makes the house affordable. What makes the house affordable is you have the income to manage the operations and the mortgage of the house. People don't necessarily need a VA loan to get zeroed down. The VA loan, I believe, just makes it easier.
You can't get out. So tell me how much
Yeah.
money you make. How much money comes into the Suzanne and Company home every month?
About my husband's business is tough. We can't because it's a new business.
Oh, she's having a hard time answering this now, isn't she? So I can tell you right now. They've thought about how much money comes in, and I'm willing to bet, I will bet a fan wave that they thought that they already know clearly, and it might be tight. They've justified it. Because the question was very simple. How much money comes in each month? But now we're going to go down the long track of, well, my husband has money, yada, 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 coming in from this and there. Mark my words. They've already justified everything. Oh, well, even if the business does this, we've got this. And even if the market, they've covered all their bases in justifications, which is not the same as covering all your bases financially. I can cover all my bases with excuses all I want, but I'd rather be able to cover all my bases financially. It's not going to take much for this to have a problem. You got people, I guarantee you, there are people who bring home what they bring home that don't live in a $500,000 home. I guarantee it to you.
And the budget's flexible, and we're not putting anything down, and all of a sudden they can't breathe.
Yeah.
And we get calls, I'm sure we'll take one during this show, where someone calls.
And these are people who will go over budget in other areas. I think I've said that before on this channel. If you're willing to go over budget in one area because you don't have control, it tends to spill into other areas. And as these kids get older and want more things, what other areas of life is this going to spill over into until her husband's calling in saying, we're so far, in debt up to our eyebrows, and Dave's going to be going, well, start delivering pizzas in addition to your job. I think it's better to have a smaller place. Again, this is, commensurate to your income, okay? It's better to have a smaller place, in my opinion. Even if you could afford a bigger place. I could afford a bigger place. Clearly, I could. I save approximately $1,500 a month. I bought way less. I could have easily, and we're talking in 2020, before the housing market all crashed, I could have bought a house, okay? I could have bought a really nice looking townhouse condo. Trust me, some days I wish I had done that before the market did what it did. But on the other hand, did I stay within my budget? Did I do everything I financially set out to do in owning a little piece of property? Yes, I did. So the goal was met. These people are going to overspill in other areas. Next, it's going to be a car. Now we're going to go over spill budget on the car. They are not fiscally mature.
Calls in and says, we're in over our head. We put nothing down on this house, and we're drowning. And so if there's time to get out, I mean, it's just...
You signed the contract, so you signed the contract.
I don't know what the situation is there.
This type of couple, they wouldn't get out even if it could save them. Because I get the impression that they are very much into appearance as well. That's the impression that I get. This isn't just about them needing more space. This is about them looking the part. And the reason I say that was at the beginning of the call, she really poo-pooed $450,000 homes. And my thought always is, but somebody lives in those homes. You know, so this is why, this is just a personal thing, okay? I can't stand people who look at someone's place and go, ooh, I wouldn't want to live there. Because my thought is, but that's somebody's home. All right? Somebody lives there. So she poo-pooed all the $450,000 homes as that's not good enough. And that's the impression that I got from her. Is, well, these are just starter houses. But lady, that's what your budget is. Remember just the other day I did a video and I said, and it was the couple that makes $190,000 a year and they're freaking ass broke. And I said, people have lost what it actually looks like. We have lost. What does it look like to make $190,000? I did that video just the other day. I will link it at the end here. Okay. If I remember, I'm pretty good about remembering now. Okay. I will link that. And I said, people have lost what it looks like to live on a certain budget. In my case, what does a single school teacher who makes $60,000, okay, and wants to save a large chunk of money each month, what does it look like? What does it look like when a couple makes $190,000 and they don't want to be calling into the Dave Ramsey show broke? What does it look like? And it turns out the couple was spending $2,000 a month eating out. $2,000 a month eating out. This caller here is that $190,000 couple that I did a commentary reaction on just a few days ago. This couple here doesn't realize that based on the income that they originally budgeted, there's a reason they budgeted $450,000 home, because they realized that's what they could comfortably afford. But then they went, oh, but wait a minute, it doesn't look like what we thought it looked like. Now we need to go to something that looks like what we would like it to look like. And now I guarantee you they're going to find themselves in debt. And this is going to spill into other areas. So this caller and her husband, okay, because it's not just the caller, it's her husband. They are a prime example of people who are so in awe. They're such an awe with trying to look the part that they are completely unaware as to what their budget really looks like. They're completely unaware. She says they bring in $8,000 a month. So what does a couple, especially when they could bring in more if she wanted to go and get a job. Okay. So what does a couple who brings home $8,000 a month with husband, wife, and two babies, and she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, what does that cost of living look like? Right? And this is why I think so many people are in debt. And we look at Instagram and we look at Facebook and we look at all these things that say, look at my fancy riches, yada, yada. But what we're not being told is what's the debt behind that picture? What's the debt behind that house, behind that car? What is the actual debt? And $8,000 a month is nothing to sneeze at for an income. But what does that actually look like if you want to put 2 kids on it? If you want to have a stay-at-home spouse on it? Now what does it look like? And I'll give you a picture of reality here, okay? So $8,000 a month. We have one person who wants to stay at home. And you know me, I divide it between the couple in the house. If there are 2 people, so that's $4,000 each. Okay, that is respectively $4,000 that they're each making. Yeah, she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, so he's making all of it. But again, we're going to divide it between the 2. That's $4,000 each. I'm a single school teacher. I make around $62,000. Guess what? I bring home almost that amount per month. What does it look like? Now then, let's say I have somebody else that comes in and brings that on top of it. Now, what would my budget look like? And I can tell you, I don't think it commands a $500,000 home to maintain.
If you're stuck with this thing, you may want to look at increasing income, refinancing to a 15-year, and making sure that you can afford it. But
oh, no way in hell are they going to refinance to a 15-year. That's $5,000 a month. Well, you think an extra interest, so it might be a little less than that. Oh, hell no, they can't afford that. They can't afford that. They're each bringing home, okay? She said 8,000. Why does it seem like they should bring more? If they're bringing home 100,000, yeah, I guess I'd be right. That'd be about 8,000 each. I mean, excuse me, 8,000 total. No, they're not going to refinance it to a 30. That now puts them way above budget. They were stretching at the 2,500. There is no way they're going to take that to a 15-year. Absolutely not.
As far as paying down the mortgage, I mean, it's a little late for that conversation because we're knee deep in this thing. But we recommend 10 to 20% down to avoid PMI or more on a 15-year, where the mortgage payment is no more than a quarter of your take-home pay. So far, every one of the rules has been broken, which just hurts my heart because
it's not even just, and we are not even getting into other debt that they might have. Do they have student loans? Do they owe anybody? What's their card debt? It's not even touching in on any of that. This will spill into other aspects of their life, and God help her husband. I half expect him in less than 10 years to be calling saying we're up to our eyebrows in debt. This is why Dave Ramsey, the corporation Dave Ramsey, will never be out of business. It's why I will always have a channel. Always. Because these are your future callers. These are the people who call in down the road and say, we messed up where? And we look back and go, what'd you do? Well, I bought a house. We bought a house that was $500,000. Again, there's nothing wrong with a $500,000 home when you can comfortably afford it. And even more so, it was put into the budget as a $500,000 home. This was never budgeted to be a $500,000 home. And there's a reason it was never budgeted to be a $500,000 home, because they could not afford it. So at one point in the game, they were actually smart. And they looked at their budget. And remember what she said at the beginning? We moved here and we didn't research how much it was going to cost to live here. These people fly by the seat of their pants on what's fun, what's exciting, what's flashy, what looks good to other people. No, thank you. Not for me.
I want to see you guys win. And you've worked so hard to get to this point where you're debt-free and you're making these decisions. And I don't want to see you step backwards and make a bad financial decision for your future.
All right. It's too late. They've already made that decision. They've already signed on the line.